Welcome to Becca's Bold Blurbs, quick and radical perspectives on living sober by getting the nonsense out of your noggin so you can get on with living this one wonderful life you've been given. Let's get to it. Aha, welcome back. Thanks for coming. Boy, yesterday was kind of heavy, wasn't it? Yeah, I was thinking about that. Thinking better lighten things up a little, but seriously, we will. But before we do that, let's just talk a little bit more. You know, what we talked about yesterday was getting honest, that all growth starts with getting honest with self and others. And of course, getting honest requires us to be willing to look at ourselves and having the humility to acknowledge our weaknesses and then work on them. It's not a big deal, right? In fact, it's quite exciting, a project that we can undertake for growth. But I won't harp on that today. First of all, I want to share with you a little story. I have two stories. The first one is not 5 minutes before I turned on this microphone, I was preparing to talk to you, and my cat came tearing in the house with something in her mouth, which she often does, and it's usually something with fur and 4 legs and a tail, in other words, a mouse. And so I wasn't terribly surprised, but I took a double take and she had a hummingbird in her mouth. And I know, right? Amazingly, she set it down thinking she would play the mouse game with it, and it was completely uninjured and immediately flew directly back out the door. So that's what just happened right here 5 minutes ago. I think I'm going to take down the feeders because I did not imagine in a million years that my cat could catch a hummingbird. The feeders are nowhere near perches, so I don't know how she did it, but she did it. So I'm going to sadly stop feeding the hummingbirds. What are you going to do? But that brings me to my second story. This story does have a reason that I want to share it with you. We live out in the country. We live in the forest. And I was laying on the couch a while ago having an afternoon nap. There was nobody else home, and I just laid down to close my eyes for 20 minutes. And the door was open because I wanted air. And after laying there for about 20 minutes, I started to wake up, and I heard something moving in the living room where I was laying. And I figured, well, it's probably my cat, right? So then I opened my eyes only to find a skunk in my living room. Now, I want to tell you, when there's a skunk in your living room, you don't move. You barely breathe. And so without moving my body at all, I just watched her with my eyes. She was a fairly small skunk, and she was investigating the room. She was going around the edges of the living room, sniffing every corner, every leg of every chair, just investigating everything. And she went round and round and came beside the couch. I didn't move, and she made her way, along the couch and then back up. And then I lost sight of her because I didn't want to move. She didn't see me. She didn't know I was there, and I knew that one move from me and that skunk would know. I don't have to tell you what would have happened. She did her little investigation of the room for, I would say, a good 7 minutes. And I have to tell you, I had to go to the washroom. I had just woken up, and in those 7 minutes, I was fully present. I never thought about the past. I never worried about the future. I thought of nothing. I have never been so present in my life. And I didn't move. And I didn't think of this at the time. It was just like, oh my God, is that skunk? Oh my gosh, how am I going to get her out of the house? Like, what if she never doesn't leave? Like, what if? That's all I was thinking was what's happening in this moment. And eventually she got tired of investigating and just strolled right on back out the door. So I waited a few more minutes and got up, and she was gone. But it really got me thinking about how seldom we're really present in the moment. The mind is wandering here and there, and we're very seldom are our senses fully present in the moment with what's happening. And my ears were alert for what she was doing. My eyes were alert for what she was doing. And yeah, it really got me thinking about the value of being present and how seldom we do it. We allow ourselves to go to the future, the past, anywhere but here, right? And I think there's really, I have a meditation practice, and I'm not that present in my meditation as I was with that skunk. The mind wanders. It's just what it does, right? So it's a lot of work to bring it back to the present. And if you really want to learn how to meditate, just get a skunk. Okay, I guess that's not going to work. Listen, what I really wanted to share with you today is this quote. Actually, I don't know if it's a quote, but it's a thought. Belief in limitation is the one and only cause of limitation. That is a quote. I can't remember. I wrote it down. What I do is when I hear things or read things that I think I want to share with you, I write them in a little notebook that I have. And I usually put the source, but I didn't put the source of this. And I know that I wrote it quite a while ago, months ago even. But that's okay. Belief in limitation is the one and only cause of limitation. Isn't that amazing? And it's true, right? Who was it that said, I think it was Henry Ford, it's that famous line, if you think you can, whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. Everybody loves that that's a lovely saying. But you know what? If we actually believed that and actually lived that, our whole entire lives would change. Everything would change. Right? Belief in limitation is the one and only cause of limitation. And I can't tell you how much I hear people say, oh, well, I can't do that because of this, or I'm not that type, or I can't, it's not how I roll, or I'm just not, or I have this, right? We put our own limitations on ourselves. I hear it all the time. Well, I'm not very, I'm not very good at this, or I'm not good at that. Anything you say about yourself is true because you believe it. So why, I ask you, would we want to put limitations on ourselves? If you think you're not, I hear people all the time, well, I'm not very technical. Really? Could you learn? If you really had to and it was going to be valuable skill, could you learn? And people just write themselves off. Well, I couldn't figure that out. I'm not that type. Never do that. Honestly, never do that. Don't define yourself and then put yourself in a box. And then you're in the box. You don't want to live in a box. Who wants to live in a box? Belief in limitation is it's not saying is a cause of or helps with. The one and only cause of limitation is belief in limitation. So whatever you believe about yourself is the truth. So what does that mean? Change your beliefs. Decide that you can learn whatever it is you think you can't learn. Decide that you can quit drinking. Make a decision. Well, I've never been able to do it up till now, but that doesn't mean I can't do it. Decide that you can limit your social media time. Whatever it is that you want to do, you can if you believe you can. And I don't just believe this, I know this to be true because I've experimented with it in my own life. For the longest time when I was unable to give up alcohol, I still loved reading all this personal development and self-help stuff. I loved it. And I'm a reader. I've been a reader my whole life. There was nothing I loved more than sitting back with a really good book and a bottle of vodka, right? And it's just, yeah, that's great. The great escape, a double escape loop, right? I'm escaping into the book and the bottle at the same time, and boy, was I ever taken care of. I didn't have to face anything. And so I'd read all this personal development, self-help stuff, and learn it, not learn all this stuff really, but just read it, hear it. It would go into my mind. But I never lived it. I never practiced it. I never tried it. I'm not even sure I believed it. I think I did. I remember going, oh yeah, I love that. That's a great quote. I love that quote. Whether you think you can or you think you can't, it's true. And I'm like, yeah, that's great. And then I just carry on with my life. It didn't change me. It didn't make any difference in my life. And I never put it into practice. I never did anything with it. And I tell you, these days, with the memes that come flying across our screens, they're amazing little memes, and that's all they are is memes. They don't change our life. People love to share inspirational memes, the person going off into the sunset with the beautiful saying of inspiration. Yes, it's lovely and inspirational, but if we don't do anything with it, what good is it? So instead of living on the surface and having beliefs about ourselves that we can't do this and we can't do that, I would suggest to you take one of those sayings. This one, here's a good one right here. Belief in limitation is the one and only cause of limitation. Don't just hear this blurb, today's blurb, and go, yeah, that was great. She's so right. And then go back to your beliefs. Why not work with it for a while? I challenge you. Take that, or if you don't like that one, take another one. The next beautiful, lovely, inspirational meme you see that you think, oh, I like that meme. Grab it, write it on a piece of paper, stick it all over your walls, write it in your journal, put it on your mirror, and live it for a couple of weeks or a month or two. Put it into your life. Practice it. See what it's like. Look it up. Read more on it. Study it. Teach it to someone else. Incorporate it into your life. Make it become who you are, part of, and then you're growing. Then you're growing. And that was what changed for me when I was finally able to get sober. No, not right away, because right away it took me quite a while to just stop wanting to drink. But that, by the way, does go away with time and help. It does. It really does. If it could go away for me, it can go away for anyone, because I was major hardcore alcoholic and it went away. I don't even think about alcohol anymore. But after I got, over that part, and early sobriety is challenging, right? And then I started thinking about, well, now it looks like I've actually gotten over alcohol. Now what? And then the growth started. Then I started doing the stuff that I talked to you about it. I started putting into practice all those things that I'd learned. Not all at once, but I decided I'm going to refuse to just echo or mimic the things I hear. I'm going to refuse to read about something really true and inspirational about humans and how we develop and grow. I'm going to refuse to just read it or hear it. I'm going to try it. I don't even have the right to talk about it if I haven't tried it. What? Here's something I read. Don't you like? Yeah, it's nice. No. So instead I've put into practice many, many, many of the things that I have read about throughout my life. In the last few years, I've put them into practice. And that's what I do now. My life is a daily practice. I just get up in the morning and practice living, practice growing, practice trying to be the better person, trying to be more patient, more accepting, more forgiving of myself and others. It's just a practice. You just make a decision. I want to grow. I want to know what it feels like. And I can tell you that when you're doing that, you all of a sudden realize, oh my God, I'm happy. Who'd have thunk? I never expected to be happy. My whole life was torture, alcohol and drug torture. And I honestly never expected to be happy. And I'm just happy. There's crap going on in my life. Crap happens. I'll tell you another story next week. I'm not going to tell it right now, but some crap happened recently that would upset anybody. And I found myself going, oh, well, there's nothing I can do about this situation, but be with it. So life's going to happen, but so what? What do we can cry or feel sorry for ourselves, or we can put on our big boy pants or big girl pants and get on with growing. And so I want to leave this one with you, but also a challenge you to take the next inspirational thing that you see, hear, or read and make a decision and practice it. Like I say, write it down in your journal and then stick it on a sticky note. And when you wake up tomorrow, go, I'm going to practice this again today. I'm going to practice it again the next day and the next day and see what happens. Grow into it. Let it become who you are. And if you want one, there's one right here. Belief in limitation is the one and only cause of limitation. So what do you believe about yourself? There's a good place to start. Thank you for listening. I'm sending you tons of love. See you tomorrow. Thanks for popping in. Be sure to come back tomorrow so we can keep your head on straight. Sending you buckets of love.